Hello, everyone. Today, you're about to hear my conversation I had with Matt Moore, and we specifically tackle a bunch of topics. A few I'll list quickly: the motivation to get fit, the inner fire that comes from leading by example, and mixing faith, action, and consistency. So, if you enjoy, all I ask is you share this with a friend. I appreciate you and enjoy the conversation.
I'm 11 years old and he starts really pushing me into the gym. He's dragging me in as much as he can, doing as much as he can to get me in the gym. But I really fought him. I was 11 years old, man. I didn't want to be lifting weights seriously. I just wanted to be hanging out with my friends, doing whatever. So he keeps pushing. And eventually I started seeing some results from just going. I've seen a little bit of results, what results you can't see at 11, 12 years old. And then it just became my identity, man. Everyone started seeing the results as well. I was lifting heavier weights. I mean, at 12 years old, I benched 225 pounds, which for most grown men is like their goal. So it like tied up into my identity. Like, people are like, oh my gosh, like he's 12, he benched 225. Like that's a big deal for a lot of people. For me, it was just what I was doing. But so that's how I got my start. It's just my brother pulling me in there because he wanted me to be better at baseball.
That's interesting. And the bench 225 at that age is really impressive. It is. And it makes me wonder, what's your size, your height at that age? How tall were you? How much did you weigh?
Ooh, honestly, I'm not 100% sure. I couldn't have, I really don't know. I mean, I'm maybe around somewhere 5 foot, 5'5" in that range somewhere. I don't know, honestly. Um, I really have no idea how much I height and weight at that time, man.
Well, I had to ask because I'm like in my head kind of configuring this dude must have been like, you must be 6'5" right now or something. But in reality, that just means that you were working and you were consistently showing up. That's impressive. What
Appreciate
about,
that.
yeah, man, because when I was a senior in high school, it was an achievement to do 225. I'm 5'11" right now. I'm like 165. I've never been more than 170. I'm shredded, but 225, that is impressive. So, I mean, what was that like being dragged to the gym? And what was that initial fire? How or when did it spark inside of you that you realized this is something I got to keep doing?
Yeah. So I tell people a lot that what initially got me into the gym, aside from my brother really pulling me in, but what motivated me individually was girls. And so on Twitter, oftentimes you see people say, like, don't go to the gym for girls, don't go to the gym for your wedding. Like, you got to go to the gym for you. And I'm like, I don't agree with that because I think that whatever reason you go to the gym for, that's going to be the start. And then you're going to get addicted to the progress. You're going to get addicted to the gains, addicted to the mental side of things, just all these benefits that it's going to give you. And then you'll really find your reason why. So really what lit the fire in the beginning, aside from just being better at baseball, was girls, man. I started, I was on the basketball court. We're wearing cutoff jerseys in middle school and early high school. And everyone is noticing. I got people's parents coming up to me after the games. They're like, man, you're looking good. Like they could tell that I was lifting a lot of weights. Like I was going hard and girls really loved it. I started to stand out amongst girls. Not that I was like, I mean, I was very popular, but girls was the main reason that it really started hitting for me. And then I pursued it just continually for baseball and for that feeling, when you get in the gym and you hit a new PR, you hit a new height like that, there's just that feeling that you're not going to really get anywhere else. And now I've been able to experience that feeling in business and things like that. But that feeling of I worked really hard to hit this goal. I came in and day out. Here's the reward. It's very tangible. And that's what I loved about it. And then COVID cancels baseball for me, right? So COVID cancels my baseball season. So now I really had to question myself of, am I still lifting to be better at baseball? Am I lifting for girls? Like, why am I lifting weights, And COVID cancels everything. I stop lifting. So I take time off just because I had no purpose. I lost my identity of baseball college baseball had been everything. So I just fall off, man. I just stopped lifting. I start doing the regular standard degenerate thing. I'm drinking 3-4 times a week. And then one day, my brother Mitch, he wants to do an I Want Abs challenge, like just some social media challenge that he found on the internet. And he's like, you want in? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. As a joke, I started. And man, I started posting my transformation. Like I started hitting it consistently. And I really started hitting it. And I was seeing results again. And I fell back in love with that process. Even though I didn't have the baseball games to train for, I was still seeing the results. And then I realized, like, obviously this is something you need to do, like health reasons, like this is something you want to do. And so I started posting on Snapchat all the time. Everyone Snapchat stories, just shirtless pics of me in the mirror after every single workout. And people started really seeing that, like girls, guys, didn't matter. All my peers who had me on Snapchat were seeing that. And I was progressing. I was really progressing. And so I had people start swiping up and they're like, hey, like, are you like, what type of program are you on? They're asking for advice. Like, what are you doing? And so then I started selling this program that I was running. Mitch had made it for me. My older brother, he had made me this program. And he's like, go ahead, sell it, man. He's like, I don't care. Go ahead, sell it, whatever. And I was like, great. I was like, this is going to be awesome. So I started selling it for $5-10, you know, and I was putting my friends through it. And I lifted in the gym late at night because I was working like 12-hour shifts landscaping. So I would go in the gym late at night. And so I started selling the program. Other people started making changes. And once I saw that I could impact other people and allow them to make the change, that's when the real fire hit. That's when I saw I can lead by example. I can implement what I'm doing and help other people. That's when I was like, okay, I'm addicted to this. If I can take, it doesn't matter who you are, if you want to lose weight, gain weight, and I can help you make that change. That's what I'm addicted to. Someone coming to me and just saying, Matt, you changed my life, man. That feeling is better than none other. And that's what I'm chasing every day.
It's kind of crazy how it spirals from, you're just going for girls, going for the sports, which it is important, to have that self-image be built. But then I had that similar realization at some point in my life where you figure out what's really driving you. And to be able to impact other people, I think humans are meant to serve, man. Like you don't get that feeling magically. It's there for a reason. We're here to help other people, whether it's the nutrition, the health, the mindset, etc. There's so many different avenues that each person can help someone with. So I think that's so important that eventually, it didn't happen immediately, but you figured out what your passion was. And then when you're working with that passion, it doesn't feel so much like work. I bet a 12-hour shift of landscaping, even though that's a monster shift, you could work a 12-hour shift of coaching and you wouldn't feel nearly as drained, probably because the work you're doing, it brings energy to you. That's how I feel about connecting and podcasting. And I am building a coaching business as well, because I've realized, I love helping people. If I can make people's lives better, that's what matters. So, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned throughout your fitness and coaching journey so far?
You're saying in regards to like helping other people, or just things that have helped my development?
Man, I mean, in general, as broad as you want to go, what's helped you?
Yeah. So like you just said, serving other people is what we were placed here to do. And I found that through faith. I believe God placed me here. I'm very faith-based. I believe God placed me here on this mission to serve other people and impact other people's lives. And I oftentimes get the question like, Matt, how did you find this purpose? And purpose, I think, boils down to two things: growth and service. And this is two of the things that I've learned, the biggest things I've learned: growth and service. If you are not growing, you're not going to feel purpose. If you're sitting on the couch, eating chips, watching Netflix, getting fat, just feeling like you're not doing anything. You're not actively growing in any area of life. You're not pushing in the gym. You're not pushing in your career. You're not pushing in your faith spiritually. Like if you're not growing, you're not going to feel purpose. And then the other thing is serving other people, like you just touched on. There's nothing better. There truly is nothing better. And I think everyone needs to find a sense of service in some capacity. I'm not saying that your whole life has to be designed around serving other people, but in some capacity, you have to find how to serve others. If it's detailing their car, you're still serving them. If it's, going and fixing their cable television as a technician for a cable TV company, you're still serving and helping other people. And so I think in some capacity, everyone needs to serve. And I think when you combine service with passion, that's when I think you're cooking with gasoline. So for you and I, man, we have this passion of health, fitness, and helping other people. We combine it with serving others. Boom. That's when you find what you love to do. So I think for anyone out there, the biggest thing I've learned is, what are you passionate about? And then how can you serve other people doing that? How can you serve other people in any regard? I think too many people put parameters on what it is. It can be all over the place. It can be, like I said, detailing cars, handing out food at the soup kitchen, like it doesn't matter. Just ask yourself, what are you passionate about? And then go serve.
That's beautiful. And it makes me wonder, like, what steps, what advice or guidance would you give to people who are unaware of what their purpose is? Because I know for a long time, I didn't think people had purposes. I thought we just, make money, get cars, and want girls. And then I found this, and I'm like, oh, whoa, there's a lot more to life. There's a lot more. So what guidance would you give to someone who hasn't found that purpose yet?
Yeah, I would say, aside from seeking growth and, serving other people with your passion, that's ultimately what it's going to boil down to. But another thing is, ask yourself why. So I dive into this with my clients a lot, is, why do you want to go to the gym? Why do you want to make this change? Why do you want to better yourself? Why are you doing what you're doing? That's really where you're going to derive your purpose from. If you have no reasoning behind why you do what you do, of course you're going to feel purposeless. Of course, because you don't know why you're doing it. You're just going on robot mode, automated mode, whatever you want to call it, coasting through life with no reason behind why you're making the decisions you're making. I think a lot of people do that when I didn't go to college, so I'm kind of the mold of not going to college and becoming the entrepreneur, but I'm not anti-college. I'm anti-floating through college with no purpose and no reason. That's my view on college. If you have a reason and then you can determine a why I'm doing this, then fine, go to college or do whatever you want to do. But I think a lot of people, they lack purpose because they just float through unconscious decisions, no real reason why behind. And I've defined that very clearly for myself. Why do I do what I do? Number one is God. Again, I can go back to my faith on that. I'm very, very faith-based. I'm doing this to serve God. I'm doing this to further his kingdom, because I know one day at the end of my life, it's me and him, having that conversation. I truly believe that. And then number two, my people, man. So if I don't grow myself, I cannot get on this podcast and serve my people. If I don't grow myself, I cannot go in the gym later on today and help that guy who's struggling on bench. If I grow myself, I realized, hey, the more I know, the more skills I have, the more I grow, the more I can help them grow. And then my third reason why is my future family, because I cannot wait to be a dad one day. I cannot wait to be, I'm firm in marriage. I can't wait to be married. I can't wait to be a dad. I can't wait to have that future family that I vision so clearly, because just the thought of, I'm going to have a kid who relies on me one day. One day there's going to be a kid who I brought into this world, and they're going to rely on me for finances, protection, food. Like, they're going to rely on me for every single thing. They are totally dependent on me. So that kid that I bring into this world deserves the absolute best version of myself that I can give them. So those are really my three reasons why: God, my people, and my future family.
It's beautiful. And you touched on leading by example earlier. That's something I hold close to my heart. I love this. Children will fail to listen, but they'll never fail to emulate. And I did not have a father that was a role model. He was a anti-role model. I always looked up and I'm like, oh, so he wound up there. He did this to wind up there. I'm not going to do that. And then from, everyone's circumstances are different. And something that I'm really trying to nail into people is taking personal accountability. You spoke on the faith, and this relates to the faith, carrying your cross. Like, you are here for a reason. It's your job to figure out why you're here. And it doesn't happen quickly. You're going to go through pain and hardship and moments of miserable thoughts, emotions, but there's that yin yang to life. If you didn't know the pain, the hardship, then you wouldn't know how good it is to understand what you put in to get to where you are now and become the person you are now. So I think it's important for people to have that faith, though. Like, I don't know how you got into it, but I'll give you a quick summary of like my introduction. My mom always said prayers, and kind of in high school, I kind of repented. I thought that faith was just like a controlling aspect. And then there was just like a week, a month into community college where or maybe after community college, but recently, and I had this urge to ask my grandma, because she's religious, for a Bible. I asked her for a Bible. I read that Bible twice so far, like all 900 pages. And it's like, I haven't read it in a little bit, but it is the foundation to who I am. It's like those 10 commandments. And then I do want to touch on the fact that it bothers me when people act as if Christianity or their religion is the only religion, because I've learned so much from Stoicism, the ancient philosophers, and even like Gandhi's words and Buddha's words. I think Gandhi and Buddha are the same person, beats me, but wise teachings from other religions. And it's like, sure, I wear this cross. I'm a Christian. I believe in God, but am I going to try and force it upon you? Hell no. I'm just going to treat you correctly. I'm going to treat you how I want to be treated. I'm going to lead by example. And it's like these principles that we can adopt. What are some of the core principles in your life, or some of your top values that built you into the man you are today?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that got me here is relationships. I think I value relationships over everything else. And that is what's paid me the most. Doesn't matter who you are. If you do right by me, I will do right by you. I value that relationship, that loyalty to a fault. And so I think number one has been relationships. That's helped me further my business. That has been everything, just connecting with people, developing relationships. Even if I'm developing a relationship with a client or potential client or just anyone, just coming into my community and developing those relationships. And then a number two core value is community, because I understand how powerful community is. When I got around entrepreneurs, that's when I became an entrepreneur. When I got around people seeking God, that's when I started seeking God. So I understand that, number one, the self-development journey can be super lonely, because you feel like, usually we have these friends that we're friends with in high school or whatever. We go off to college, we party, we drink together. And then you're like, okay, I really want to start developing myself. And they don't, because not everyone finds that journey at the same time. They're maybe going to find it later on in life. For me, I found it very early. And when you're so young, it's hard to find people who are developing themselves like I am. And so then I was like, community is huge. Environment, community, however you want to put it, community is everything. And you're more likely to hit, it doesn't matter if you got fitness goals, business goals. If you can surround yourself with a community who expects more out of you, you will get more out of you. And that's the number one thing. Everyone always says you're a product of your environment. I heard it best from Ed Milet. He said, you are the expectation of your environment. So if you step into the room and, your closest friend doesn't care if you worked out, doesn't care if you went to church, he doesn't care about any of that stuff, and he's like, hey, are you trying to go party? Then obviously you're going to be a poor product of your environment, But if you step into the room and your best friend is like, hey man, did you get your workout in? And you're like, no. And he's like, all right, let's go hit the gym. Like he expects you to be growing. He expects you to be going to church or furthering your walk of faith. So relationships, community, and then another big one is vulnerability. And I don't hear this often enough, of just leading with vulnerability. And I realize that's how you're going to make true impact in people's lives. It's not, I'm this perfect guy who has the perfect workout plan, who has the perfect diet, who never misses. It's, hey, I miss too. Hey, I struggle too. Hey, I feel those emotions. I feel those shitty days. I get it. But I promise you can keep going. I promise if you just keep pushing yourself, keep leaning into that community, and just keep going, you will make it out on the other side. So leading with vulnerability, of showing guys of like, man, you're not alone. Just because you're overweight, just because you're too skinny, just because you're struggling to find God, just because you're struggling to find your purpose, I've been there. And I think leading with that vulnerability of me being willing to say, hey, here's my struggles first, opens the door and breaks down those walls for other people to kind of let you in, to actually help them. They're willing to tell you your struggle because you led with that vulnerability. So again, my three: relationships, community, and then vulnerability.
Both the relationships and the community, they're quite intertwined. They're quite powerful, but the most powerful for sure when looking to impact people, it's that vulnerability. I like this idea, your message is your wound, the things that you suffered through, that's what you share with people, and show that like you haven't given up. It surely was a challenge, and life is full of ups and downs, but when you've built yourself through consistently doing the right things, then we're able to share that impact and ideally help so many people. So if you had to give some practical steps for someone who hasn't been vulnerable, who hasn't healed through their wounds, who is looking to cultivate better relationships, what little pieces of advice would you give to those who just need like a practical step? Because they're, when you're so far back, it's kind of hard to have that long-term view. Yep. So I like to give people just small steps they could take right now.
Yeah, I think if you're someone who's sitting there longing for relationships, I would say I found the best quality relationships when I started working on myself. So you're not going to find people who are seeking God and hitting the gym if you're out at the bar. You're just not going to find those type of people. So if you want to attract quality people, become a quality person. So when I started hitting the gym consistently, that's when I started attracting people who were hitting the gym. When I started going to church and like actually exposing myself to faith, that's when I started finding people who were already exposed to faith. And it doesn't always mean that you have to be level with them. You have to be equal with them. I'm not saying you have to go to you have to get a six pack to hang out with someone who has a six pack. That's not what I'm saying. But if you start going to the gym and you're willing to put in the work and put in the action, there's going to be people who are further along than you that will reach down and help you, who will bring you along, who will befriend you. So I would say the number one thing to attract good quality relationships is to work on yourself. Stop seeking the relationships out there. Stop seeking girls. Like this is, I think, a good one for, if you're looking for an intimate relationship with a girl or a guy. I always tell my clients this all the time because I work with a lot of young guys and they're like, man, I'm single. Like, they chop it up with me about that. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, do you want a girl who works out? And he's like, yeah, I want a girl who works out. I'm like, okay, you got to work out because she wants a guy who works out. I'm like, do you want a girl who goes to church? He's like, yeah, of course. I'm like, well, then you better start going to church, man, because she wants a guy who goes to church. And so that's how I've found, if you want to cultivate these great relationships, number one, become a quality person. And then number two, lead with vulnerability and lead with your values. So if you establish that, if you have these hard conversations, if you go into a relationship and you just talk about very surface level stuff like, oh man, did you see LeBron went off for 40 the other night? Like, that's not going to get you anywhere. That's not going to find you a quality relationship. Stop talking about surface level stuff. Start telling people, hey man, here's where I'm at. Here's what I'm struggling with. Here's where I want to go. And I really value this. Like I value my health. I value, you know, the way I look. I respect myself enough that I'm trying to get here. You start having those conversations, you're going to really see who's invested in you, who wants to see you win, and who's going to come along with you. And then same thing with faith. I mean, if faith is another one where you're looking to grow, start telling people that. Go into these friendships and these relationships and say, hey, I'm at step 0, step 1, man. I'll be open and honest with you. Here's where I'm at. I'm not happy with where I'm at, but I want to get here. And they're either going to say, I'm not there either. Let's do this together. Or they're going to say, man, I can help you out. And if they don't say those two things, you don't want them in your life regardless. So, you know, just a quick recap, become a quality person, and then lead with vulnerability and lead with your values, what you value, what you're trying to accomplish, and you're going to find the right people.
I really resonate with that. Specifically, you will attract who you are. That's just how this world works. If you're out doing cocaine 5 days a week, you're not going to find a girl who works on herself, who's eating healthy food, who studies, and who spends her time intentionally. You're going to find, what do you think, another drug addict. So it goes back to your environment, like you spoke on. And I love the point about the surface level. If you're talking about sports and surface level bullshit, it might be that you do not, or you haven't taken the serious time to get to know yourself, because that's a big problem for most people. A lot of people like me and you were quite young to be on, I don't want to say level, but to have investigated ourselves so in depth and kind of figured out what we want, who we are, and know thyself. But most people in high school and college, they are so materialistic, living in this new age religion of materialism, rather than, you know, there should be a touch of rationality in your life, but there also should be a touch of spirituality and in-depth understanding vibes and frequencies, and how other people, if you spend time with someone and every time they leave, you're upset or you're not happy, that's telling you straight up front, you got to make a change. Maybe that person is just not going to change and you got to get away from them. Or maybe you can share your aim with them and they'll say, wow, it's kind of impressive. Let's do this together. I'm not saying you have to like cut off all your friends, but that's kind of what I went through after high school. I had a big circle, and then it went from big circle to 0. And then it felt lonely, just like you said, you know, the self-development journey can feel lonely, but here I am coming out the other side, and it's like, it was all worth it. So I think people have to do the right things consistently. So that kind of makes me wonder, I know you go to the gym, I know you go to church, you have strong faith. What are some of the other habits that keep you feeling good?
Yeah, nutrition is the biggest one that keeps me feeling good. I think so much boils down to nutrition. I think any type of illness, any type of, you know, signs on your skin, like your skin is a direct reflection of your diet. And so I think the number one thing is just what you eat. I believe most people eat like garbage these days, absolute garbage, and they don't understand what they're putting into their body. So I think the number one thing that keeps me feeling good is nutrition. But I also think it's everything that we talked about already, of not only do I have a community who's pouring into me, but I also have my mission and my why determined. So I always say this, like it's one thing to wake up motivated. It's another thing to wake up motivated with a plan and a reason why. And you can wake up listening to a motivational speech and you'll feel on fire for 20 minutes. You'll feel great for 20 minutes. You wake up with a plan, you wake up with a reason why and a mission on where you're going, and a clear set mission of here's where I'm going and here's why I'm going there. Man, that motivation is going to last so much longer. And then even when the motivation runs out, you're just going to keep going. And that's when people dig down deep. That's when 12-hour work days and entrepreneurship, like we talked about in the very beginning, that's when those become easy. That's when you don't mind, you know, next thing you know, 12, 16 hours pass and you've been working the whole time. But man, I got a mission and I got a reason why. So physically, food, gym, But mentally, I think plays a huge role, because I think oftentimes people, again, lack that purpose. So they don't feel good if you lack purpose. Of course, you're going to start identifying with your problems and then fixing them. It's easy to identify with the problems than it is to fix them. So, but if you have no reason to fix them, why fix them? Because you're getting the attention when you have the problem. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, that's powerful. I love this line, garbage in, garbage out. You
Yeah,
consume bullshit, and that's what you're going to create yourself. And that's why a
absolutely.
big focus of my message to people is stop with the entertainment. Like, podcasts single-handedly changed my life. And that's why we're here today doing this, because a couple years ago, I first it started with the stock market, then it transferred into more like personal development, Jordan Peterson, Ed Milet, Chris Williamson, just learning, man, learning about the mind, the body, history, authoritarianism. That's a big one. I'm also like, at the same time, very aware of where our government's going and where the New World Order is trying to head things. But that's also, it's like one person, our job is to impact people and get their health and their mind right. Because one more person with a healthy mind is that much closer to that better world, that our creator wants, that our creator has meant for us. But I don't want to rant too much about things. I mean, that that leads me to ask, what type of things are you consuming mentally on a daily basis, a weekly basis? What are you feeding your mind to keep yourself going? And then also another question after that is, how do we help people create their long-term visions? Because like we spoke on, when you wake up every day and you know what you're working for, life becomes much easier. So
Yep.
one at a time, brother.
Yeah. So number one, my input, your input controls your output. Like you just said, garbage in, garbage out. My input is primarily podcasts as well. If I'm looking to seek further education, a big thing that I did was auditing my consumption with social media. So going on my Twitter, going on my Instagram, I don't use Facebook, but I know a lot of people do. Going on your social medias, where are you consuming content from? Where are you consuming? What's your input coming from is the first thing to understand. And I think a lot of people don't realize when you wake up, because most people wake up, roll over and look at their phone. When you wake up, roll over, look at your phone, get on Instagram, and you see a post from someone you don't enjoy, or you see a low quality input, that is starting your day off so terribly. That's just such a bad way. And you're probably, if you see a post from someone you didn't like in high school or an ex-girlfriend or whatever it is, you're starting your day off with some resentment. You're starting your day off with some negative, bad energy. So this is why it's so important to control your input, not only because it'll have a quality output, but it's going to affect your mood every day. It's going to affect your ability to work, the things you can focus on. It's going to affect all this, your happiness. And so I audited my consumption was first thing with my social media. I went through everyone that I'm following. If you don't provide value in my life, gone. I don't care who you are. I don't care if we grew up good friends and we were good friends through high school. If I don't have a relationship with you today and I don't value what you're putting on the timeline, gone. Do not care. And that led to some hard conversations. I had some old friends texting me like, hey man, why'd you unfollow me? Here's why: you don't provide any value in my life. Like, easy as that. And it's hopefully forced them to reflect like, man, what am I doing with my life? Not helping anyone. So that's the first thing I did. I went through my social medias. I just unfollowed everyone that I could, everyone who wasn't providing me value. The next thing is, like you said, Jordan Peterson, Ed Milet. Like, Ed Milet is my number one podcast that I listen to. I listen to him probably 2-3 podcasts a day. And that seems crazy to a lot of people, but I do it when I'm working out. Usually, like when I first wake up, when I'm getting ready in the morning, when I'm preparing breakfast, whatever I'm doing in the morning, I'm listening to a podcast, and then while I'm working out, another podcast. And then 2, sometimes 3 if I got a long drive or something like that at the end of the day, or any time that if I'm folding laundry or something like that, that's when that third podcast comes in, or I'm finishing up that second one. So podcasts have been huge. But I know a lot of people don't like podcasts. Like there's some people who don't like it. And so if you don't like podcasts, look to books. Look to these successful people that you want to be like, even if it's just following them on social media, a book that they've written, a podcast that they've put out. Look to these very positive, very successful people that you want to be like, and consume their stuff, and you will start to become like them.
Man, you hit on some good points. Something, the fact or the statement, I don't like podcasts. It's like, okay, have you ever listened to a podcast, or do you just not like it? Like, it bothers me when people are not open to things. And this is a big problem in today's society with the cancel culture. Like, if you were an atheist, Matt, I would still be talking to you right now, because you know why? I'm an open motherfucker. I'm here to have a friendly conversation, and I'm not going to be rude to you just because you don't agree with me. And that's just something so toxic that we need to eradicate, And then something that I think is helpful for me personally, and most people who are successful or on their entrepreneurial journey, is using time blocks. I'll use this app on my phone, and if I get off of the app, it kills whatever I'm growing. It grows all sorts of plants, trees from all countries. It's just like this little incentive for me to stay off the phone. So I'll do 90-minute work sessions, then go outside for 5-10 minutes. And then, maybe a 75-minute work session, but actually blocking off that time. When you're working all in, doing the work. And when you're not working, I'm not fucking working. I'm not thinking about it. I'm enjoying myself, whether it's with the dogs or in nature on a hike. People need to learn how to be intentional and be present, rather than just say, oh, you need to be present. I'm trying to really explain the in-depth information behind being present. But then it's like, you just really have to make a choice, whether it's reading or podcasts. The decision to get out of your fixed mindset and work on growing, evolving. Like, I'm sure you wake up every day and you're going to learn. If you're listening to 2-3 episodes of Mr. Ed Milet, you're here to learn every day. It's not like, okay, I'm successful, I'm a coach, I know it all, nothing else for me to learn. Like, that's toxic. So, tell me a bit about a few keys, or I asked this question earlier, but we kind of derailed from it. What have been some of your biggest lessons that you've learned throughout your life experience so far?
Yeah. And I think you just touched on one. Aside from, serving others and the growth, that's been probably the biggest lesson, but you just touched on one, is understanding that I can always get better, and understanding that I believe anyone can provide anyone value. Open-mindedness. Like, if we get on this call or this podcast, and like, even just us, man, like we've never even met. We've never even talked before this. Like, this is our first experience. If I would have came in here, like, I don't even know who this guy is. Like, I'm better than this guy. Like, I'm just not open, man. You'll never be successful in business if you start doing that. You have to be open-minded to, there's an opportunity in everything I do. And even when I was building my business, when I still had a corporate job, when I had my corporate job, I'm working at a call center, and it sucked. It really sucked. But I realized there's value in everything I do. There's an opportunity in everything I do. So if I'm sitting on the phone for 8 hours a day at this call center that I just hate, I really, truly hate, it's draining all my energy, man, I completely refined my communication skills. I got so good at communicating. I got so good at relating to people, because I have people from all various types, sizes, shapes, ages calling me with a problem. So not only am I working on problem solving, I'm working on communicating. And the only way you're going to calm someone down is if you can really relate to their struggle. Like we talked about before, that's the only way you're going to get them to stop cussing you out. Cause that's what I was dealing with. People just calling, cussing me out. I got these problems. And you're just like, hey man, like, you know, what's going on? Like, you know, where are you from? Like you're relating to them, just trying to find a way to relate. So I spent like over a year working this corporate job that most people would have never picked anything up from it. And now I'm extremely grateful that I saw opportunity to learn and to grow, even in something that I didn't think had any opportunity when I first started it, because it has helped me so much in business, the communication, the relatability, all of that. So I would say one big lesson is be open-minded and understand that there's an opportunity in everything.
And it's hard, I think, for people who don't have that open mindset. Is there any not secret, but how did you switch your mindset to really look for the opportunity in that shit job? Because I love that point. In all of the struggles, you're gonna go through hard times, whether it's a year or 6 months. How can you kind of just flip your mind to look for something? It's like, is it just a simple choice you make? I feel like that's part of it, along with everything else we spoke of. But
Yeah.
is there anything you want to add? How do you find that opportunity? How do you switch your mind to search for opportunity?
I think comes down to self-awareness. Self-awareness and realization, a sense of reality, I guess is a good way to put it. Of when I first got hired onto that job, I had this first interview and the lady asked me, she said, where do you want to be in 10 years? And I said, I will own a business in 10 years. And she just kind of laughed at me, you know, whatever. I didn't care because I knew I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time, but I knew like I will own a business in 10 years. And so I could have went into that job very closed-minded. I'm better than these people. I'm going to be a business owner. This is a very low level opportunity in my life. There's nothing here for me. Like I could have done that, but I made the choice. I had the self-awareness of, okay, I know where I'm going, but this is a season of life that I have to endure. I can either endure this and make it more miserable than it already is, or I can endure this and get something out of it. Because regardless, I didn't have the money to pay my bills. So I had to go get this job. Like I didn't have anyone paying my bills. I didn't have any money. I moved into my apartment with my brother and he hooked me up with some cheap expenses at the time, but I only had 35 cents. So I had to pay my bills. So I had to go get this job. It was inevitable to endure this season, the shitty season of life. So it was just that question of, okay, I have this self-awareness and this realization of where I'm going. I can step in here and say, I'm better than you. I'm going to better places than you. You're going to be stuck here forever. Like, or I can step in here, endure it, develop relationships that may help me when I get out of it and grow from it, learn from it, and get something from it. So I think self-awareness, understanding where you're going, but what you have to get through to get there, and not thinking that you're just better than the moment that you're in, understanding seasons of life, where I'm at, what can I acquire from this? And I got real savvy. I got super savvy in those moments. And those moments of, I can take the shittiest situation and seek opportunity have carried so well into business now. I was in a terrible situation before, and I still sought after opportunities and made the most of it. So now when I'm in a really good spot, I'm leveraging myself in a good position with my community, my following, with other people who are higher up, you know, they're further along in the game, I should say. I'm savvy, I'm seeking opportunities. So now I can see way more opportunities. And the best way I like to describe that is when you want to buy a new car and you are looking for, I'm a huge Jeep guy, bro. I love Jeeps. So if you're looking to buy a new Jeep and you're like, okay, I'm going to go buy a white Jeep. You didn't notice the white Jeeps on the road before. Now you start seeing white Jeeps everywhere. And this is something I picked up from Ed. You start seeing white Jeeps everywhere. So when you start realizing, okay, I'm going to start seeking opportunity, you get actively seeking the opportunities, you're going to start seeing the opportunities everywhere. So it's just like buying that car. I'm going to go buy a white Jeep. Okay, now I'm out on the road. I haven't bought the Jeep yet. I'm driving around. Now I'm seeing white Jeeps left and right, Jeeps that you would have never noticed before.
Yeah, I like that. I heard that from multiple people too. It's funny though. It's completely true. But you said something that I really liked, referring to if you're spending your energy, I'm better than this person. Oh, you're holding a grudge or holding resentment. You are directly limiting your ability to use that energy in a positive way. Like, we don't have unlimited energy, it's finite. So you got to make that decision. Are you going to aim high, aim to grow, to learn, to be healthier, etc.? There's so many avenues of improvement. Or are you going to spend your time saying, hey, fuck Joe? Joe has this. He got lucky. And like, just hold a grudge on people. Or, oh, like, I had a toxic relationship in high school. I completely forgive the girl. Like, we were young, we were foolish, even though, I could be sitting here holding a grudge, like, oh, she's this, she's that. Or what do? No, I channel my energy in a different way. I use my energy to improve myself. Like we hit on earlier, if you want that girl who goes to the gym, that person who's financially aware, who is literate in their language, who has values, you better find all that or create all that stuff yourself. If you just want to get something, you attract what you are. I think that's like one of the biggest principles that I wish someone told me at a younger age. But at the same time, our wounds are our message. You have to kind of be thankful for all the hard things you've gone through, because, and this is something I've realized with everyone. So I'll ask you, if you had the choice, would you reverse all the hard things you've gone through?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because like you just said, that's my message. Your struggle is your testimony, is the way I've always said it. And so when I get on calls with people I'm trying to impact, I can lead with my struggle, or I can relate with my struggle. And so, there are people who are out there struggling right now. They're in the thick of that right now. And my biggest, I've gone through some adversity, a lot of adversity, but my biggest one that I've been able to relate with people is my parents got divorced when I was really young, and I was forced to grow up quick. Like, I was forced to grow up really quick. So, but that has allowed me to relate with so many people. And now, struggling with 35 cents in my account, not being able to pay the bills, like figuring it out to get the money, and just struggling and grinding through that all the way to now being my own boss. Like, that struggle has allowed me to relate to so many people. So like you just said, your wounds are your message. Your struggle is your testimony. Without your struggle, you are nothing. Because if you haven't struggled and you haven't overcame anything, no one's going to look to you or respect you at all. I mean, think about the people we look up to. We look up to them because they overcame hardships. So if you want to be someone, overcome your shit. Overcome your shit. Like, you got to get through that shit, and you got to understand. I think about this all the time. I think about my life as a story that I'm going to tell one day. So I think about that a lot, of when I have kids, what story am I going to be able to tell them about when I was 20 years old? What story am I going to be able to tell them about when I was starting my business? And then at the end of my life, what story am I going to be able to look back, and am I going to be proud of, okay, I overcame that shit. Like, man, I started my own business. I went through that struggle of waking up at 5 a.m. to go train an in-person client, work out myself, go to a shitty job, and build an online business on the side. Like, I'm going to be so proud of that story that I get to tell one day, because I overcame these struggles. So ask yourself, what story are you writing? And one day down the road, am I going to be proud to fucking tell this? Or am I going to be the victim in the story? Am I going to be the guy who had that toxic relationship in high school and is still fucking riding on that 15 years later? Or am I going to be the guy who's telling the story of, man, that guy Joe, like you talked about, he just had it, man. He got lucky. He had it. Is that the story you're going to fucking tell? Or are you going to be proud to tell that? And I guarantee the answer is no. So I think about it that way of, kind of every day I wake up, I got a new page to write today. How do I want to write this story? And am I going to be proud of the story that I write?
That's very powerful. And I think a good place for us to leave off is, you guys, anyone listening, one of the biggest keys to becoming better is just asking yourself questions. And let me touch, there's a difference between shitty questions and empowering questions. If I ask myself, why am I ugly? Why can't I do this? You will make up answers for that. But if you ask yourself, what do I need to do to get from where I am now to where I want to be? What steps, what small things should I be looking into today to make the best with my 24 hours? We all got 24 hours in a day. No one's got different 24 hours. It's about how you use it. Sure, you could say, oh, Joe had a better circumstance, or you could suck it up and make that decision. This is the cards I'm dealt. I'm going to make the best of it. And that's the key. So Matt, I appreciate you. This was great. Where should we send the listeners if they want to learn more about you?
Yeah, definitely Twitter. Twitter is where I do everything. I do a little bit on Instagram, but Twitter's my main spot. Matt S. Moore _ on Twitter.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, dude. I appreciate the opportunity to jump on here and just chat it up. Hopefully some people listen to this and really get something from it, get some value from it, because I know that's what we're both trying to do. So just keep, to everyone out there, keep seeking opportunities, keep pushing. You fucking got this. You fucking got this.